Now to Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, who's facing a backlash for cancelling the visa of a Jewish influencer, Sami Yehud, only a matter of hours before he was set to fly to Australia. Mr Yehud was scheduled to participate in a series of events with Jewish organisations around the country before Tony Burke cancelled his visa on Monday night. Telling The Guardian Australia the decision was made over concerns that Mr Yehud would be, quote, spreading hatred. Joining me now is one of the groups to whom Mr Yehud was going to address when he's in Australia, and that when he was in Australia. That's the Australian Jewish Association. And I'm joined now by their CEO, Robert Gregory. Robert, thank you for your time. Give me your reaction to this cancelling, because it's literally happened at the 11th hour. You had events organised. What do you make of the minister's claim that he would have come here and spread hate?
Well, there's a pattern here. I mean, we saw former Israeli Justice Minister alias had her visa cancelled, a member of the Israeli Knesset, Simcha Rothman, even an American Jewish tech entrepreneur, Hillel Fuld, also did. So the Home Affairs Minister has a track record here. He always does it at the last minute, so there's not a chance for people to appeal it. And I think what's worrying in this case is that some of the remarks being cited, they were about Islam. So you might disagree with them. You know, a lot of people might disagree with them, but they weren't about Muslims as a people. They're about an ideology. So I think we need to let people with different views come debate these ideas. And if there's an issue, then, you know, where people are being targeted, that's what we need to worry about. Now, the Australian Jewish Association, we were just one of the organisations. All the major synagogues, or many of the major synagogues and other Jewish organisations were set to host Mr Yehud. There's a lot of disappointment in the Jewish community. I think people thought that after Bondi, perhaps there'd be a change from the government in some of this excessive targeting of the Jewish community. We, of course, know that a lot of the Islamic hate preachers have not been denied entry to Australia, and action has not been taken on that front. So I think there's a lot of concern in the Jewish community at the moment.
Yeah, I think the words you used was murderous ideology. Islam is a murderous ideology, and I made the point in my editorial. I mean, if you look at the empirical evidence, if you look at terror attacks around the world, if you look at the number of people killed, if you look at Allah Akbar when the suicide bomber goes off, you know, there's a fair argument to be made. It's not a long bow to draw. But what concerns me is the double standard here with the government. I mean, they can cancel Jews from Israel, they can cancel neo-Nazis, and I've no issue with the cancellation of visas in that case, but they can't seem to cancel any, you know, extreme Islamist imams or people in mosques who spew hatred or leftist pro-Palestinian types. Why the hypocrisy there?
Well, that was our issue with the hate speech laws. It gives all this discretion to Tony Burke, and we see how he's using it. They use it for political ends. So yes, they will take action against an anti-Semite, but as long as they're on the right and as long as they can, you know, they refused a visa to Candace Owens or Kanye West. But when it comes to some of the Islamic hate preachers or the pro-Palestinian activists, we don't see any action. That may have something to do with the makeup of some of these ministers' seats. We know Tony Burke's seat in Western Sydney has a very large Muslim population, so obviously he needs to keep his voters happy. But Australia's national security should not be being decided on this basis.
Not at all. What did you make of Andrew's story that we just spoke about a moment ago? A Jewish Bondi shooting victim having their name changed in a Western Sydney hospital. Do you buy the explanation from the minister in the hospital? At first it was the media. When pushed, was it concerns about the staff who may have been looking after these Jewish individuals? They've sort of dodged that. They've said that that's not sort of accurate. But given that terrible video that circulated a while back, is that what was behind this, do you think?
It's an extraordinary story, and I don't think anybody believed that it was because of the media. This is a person, not a celebrity, not someone who's known. I mean, I'm hearing the name for the first time now, so there was no fear that the media was going to make a big deal about it. It only happened in this one hospital in Western Sydney, not in the other hospitals where many more patients went. So I think something smells here. Something's not quite right. And was it the staff? Was it other patients? Either way, it's a big concern. And these are the concerns that are going through the Jewish community at the moment. And this is why we were calling so hard for a royal commission, because I know many Jewish people who would be very, very worried about being treated in a Western Sydney hospital. And if they're going to avoid medical care because of that, then that's a really worrying indictment on Australia.
International Holocaust Remembrance Day, of course, today, and we have had the last body of the final Israeli hostage returned home today. I saw, heart-wrenching images of the mother in particular who spoke to the media. Does this bring that chapter to a close for many Jews and those in Israel? I know there's a lot to come from it, but at least now all your people, or all the Jewish people, are home.
Well, it's telling that today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and this is the day the government chose to deny a Jewish person or revoke their visa. But the final hostage body, I think there was a lot of Jewish people woke up today to that news around the world, and non-Jewish supporters, and there was a big breath of relief. People finally feels like one part of this terrible war that began on October 7 is finally over. The IDF we're going to complete that goal. The Israeli government set those goals at the beginning of the war to return every single hostage, living or dead, and to make sure that Hamas could no longer govern. A lot of people didn't believe them. They didn't think it was possible. And these goals have now been achieved. So I think there's a big sense of relief, and people just want to build and look to the future to rebuild. And hopefully we'll never see such a terrible thing as we saw on October 7.
Just before we go, Robert, have you sought a meeting with the Minister, with Tony Burke, about this constant cancelling of Jewish visas, or visas, to Australia from people from Israel? Have you sought a meeting with him to say what the heck's going on?
So I last met with Tony Burke in December. Other issues came up, not this one, but my organisation, I've written to Tony Burke because this particular speaker now was not brought out by our organisation. We were just running one of the events where several synagogues and other Jewish organisations were, but one of the previous speakers, Simcha Rothman, was brought out by us, and we wrote to the minister. There's an appeal in process. We're still hoping, because this person now has a 3-year ban from Australia, so we're hoping he'll reverse his ban. We don't know if we'll succeed, but I really think that the Jewish community and the wider Australian community needs to raise these issues, because I don't know, it seems like the Home Affairs 100%. Minister is deciding national security based on his electorate.